I had a chance earlier in the week to talk with Sheila Creevy, Chief Executive of Dance Ireland. Dance Ireland is the first institution to publish a plan of action for the reopening of DanceHouse, a move we believe will inspire other institutions to behave similarly and with equal levels of clarity and transparency. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you, Abby.
Well, let's start off. Would you tell us about DanceHouse and its role for professional dance artists and workers?
Yeah, for sure. So Dance Ireland is a dance development organisation. We are in that sense, we're a resource organisation. We offer support for artists, and we develop collaborations and partnerships, and we represent the sector in many ways in terms of advocacy. So we are there to support, nurture, develop artists and the art form of dance.
And now Dance Ireland has been running weekly member meetings. What have some of the most often expressed concerns during this time been?
Yeah, so our members are made up of a very broad range of artists and those who are in training as well. So we've got three different levels of membership. We've got the pre-professional members, we've got professional members, and we have organizational members as well. So there's a very broad spectrum of the community who've been connecting with us. And it's really a great opportunity to connect people, to listen and to learn from the community as well. So it's been very helpful for us to have that opportunity to connect with members, but also for the members to connect with each other. They found it very useful. And it is actually something that we've decided we're going to continue beyond this lockdown as well, because it helps those of us who are more isolated or in rural contexts, to connect more nationally and with everybody else as well. There are people who are making connections who wouldn't have connected before. So in the first instance, it has been really, really great to have these meetings. And in terms of the content of those, they are, like I said, places for people to connect, but they are also places for people to share their concerns and their issues. And some of the key things that have been coming up obviously have been funding and the loss of work, and how people are going to survive on that. And there's a lot of peer support that is coming out, people talking to each other, offering advice, offering their own examples of how they are dealing with things. We had, when this was expressed at a particular meeting, the following week, we had two presentations from artists who are actually working in isolation, who do this as their normal practice, so they could share some of the tools that they had built up already with those who are quite new to this experience as well. So that was really, really great to actually realize that actually within our community, we've got the tools to survive. We've got this to share with each other. And so that was a lovely moment of realization and coming together as well, in solidarity with each other, very much so. But other things that have come up, I suppose, would be moving content online. That's a big issue, I know, for the arts in general. People are looking to maybe share their work or continue some sort of form of work, to teach classes, to try and sort of engage with their followers or their public or their audiences or their networks in similar ways, and really acknowledging and accepting that that's not necessarily possible, that there are big changes needed in terms of connecting online. Sharing work online is not the same as sharing it in a live with a live audience. It's a completely different experience, and also, you know, the quality of performance or video that you need to share online is very different to what you might use for marketing purposes as well. So there are lots of things to navigate in that sense. But key to this, I think, also is the issue of pay, and actually the value of the work that is being offered for free in this lockdown period. There are so many people who are being so generous and really opening up their practice and offering support to the communities, extending it out on their own time. And there is a conversation that is ongoing about actually how will our artwork be valued beyond this point if the public have been so used to getting it for free. So this is a conversation that has been brought up a number of times as well. I think it might have been circulating in other art forms as well, but for dancers particularly, it's they are sometimes the least resourced art form, and really sort of struggling to survive in the best of, of occasions as well. But this is particularly something that's on their mind in that sense. A couple of other things that that have been brought up. So pre-professional membership, the students, those who are graduating from courses, they're looking at their futures and going, what is there for me? What is my career now post COVID? Will I be able to make the work, or, build the reputation in order to establish myself as an artist? Will that opportunity be there for me now, as it has been for others previous to this? So there's quite a big question mark over that aspect of things as well. And that's obviously something that is really concerning in terms of training and development as well. And in terms of training, dancers are missing being physical in a space. They want to get back to the studios. They want to be with others. They want to train. It's all well and good going to the park and doing a sort of a more open sort of training regime, but most people are confined to their living rooms and trying to make the best of what they've got there. But actually, the expansive space that you need to really express yourself and exercise your full range of motion, your full physicality is it's only really achievable in the specialized space that a dance studio offers as well. That and how the landscape will look beyond this. So yeah, there's quite a few. Those are the key points that I thought might be of interest to your audience, but I'm sure they're the same across many, many contexts.
Definitely. I think we're hearing those concerns across all, like, the art sector. And it is an unknown time, but all we can do is adapt. And as we're seeing, it's incredibly inspiring.
Absolutely, it is. There are going to be some really interesting things happening, I think. There's been one of the things that I'm quite concerned about is the level of emphasis that there is on output at this time. People are expected to perform, people are expected to deliver. And actually, what we've got right now is the potential for a real creative boom if people are allowed the space to think, to reflect, to respond, to consider what their art form is and what it could be in the future. There's going to be some amazing work produced out of this, if only the artists are able to have that creative space.
Well, now, talking about space and kind of opening up, that space for people to create, would you like to, well, on DanceHouse, on the website, DanceHouse's reopening proposal is described as a live plan that will respond and evolve as necessary. So what have been some of the difficulties with responding in a time of very little certainty? And opening those spaces indeed for creativity.
I think we're all faced with certainty right now, but I think a key thing for us was in issuing this plan was to highlight the work of the professional dance artists and workers as an economic activity, and the studios themselves as a place of work. And in terms of uncertainty, the roadmaps, the guidance issued by the government does not necessarily take this into account in terms of a specialized workplace for dance. And it was important for us to take a coordinated approach to this. So we're working with Firkin Crane in Cork and Dance Limerick, and we're all coordinating on this approach to reopening the workplace for dance. And so it's not just DanceHouse, but it's others as well who are following the same kind of trajectory, which is really encouraging. We have as much information as everybody else, onto what is there. And we have had so many artists and companies contact us and really ask for clarity and guidance and access to the space. They want to get back to work. And I guess we needed to take a position. We wanted to provide clarity and confidence to the sector, as well as a plan for us as an organisation to open up. I think it's important to really acknowledge at this point that Dance Ireland is not just DanceHouse, that we are the Association for Professional Dancers in Ireland, and there's so much happening while DanceHouse is closed. DanceHouse is one of the key resources that we've got, that we protect and that we sort of provide for the dance sector as well. So there are other things going on. Everybody's working very hard to make sure that the supports are there, but DanceHouse is key. So we needed to think about, in terms of the unknowns, the safety of our staff, in reopening the building. It's a big building. It's got quite a lot of variables to consider in that respect. And we have obligations to be compliant with the return to work safely protocol as well. So those sort of compliance, the idea of risk assessment, the idea of trying to make sure that it's a safe place for the staff and for all users of the building, it's, you know, there's a number of things that we've had to sort of consider in that respect. Everything and anything can change. That's the next thing really to think about, is that we've set out this plan, and that's why we've said it's a live document. We've set out this plan, and we have to say, do you know what? This is based on the government actually enacting all of those individual elements as we go along at this particular time. Things can happen earlier, but things could happen later. And we have to be responsive to that as well. Number one is to be compliant, as I said. So we need to make sure that we err on the side of caution. And there's a huge amount of caution in this plan as well. You will have seen that we're opening up very, very gradually, making sure that we're testing our protocols, that we're risk assessing every element, that people feel safe and secure. You know, in our home for dance, we want people to be able to safely create, and we want to be able to ensure that we don't, that there's continued access to those spaces by being careful as well. The needs of our community are really nuanced as well. So this is another sort of thing that we need to be really mindful of in terms of the uncertainty, is that artists, they use the space, you know, in different formations and numbers. They use it for different purposes. We've got teachers, we've got directors, we've got choreographers, we've got performers, you know, we've got people who use the space for rehearsals, and that's, you know, beyond dance as well. You know, there's quite a few theatre companies who use our space to rehearse their productions, and they have a whole other set of issues that they now need to sort of think about when they're coming back to work, and we're here to obviously, you know, support them in terms of accessing our space as well. So yeah, things will change. There are a lot of uncertainties, but we wanted, like I said, to give clarity and confidence, and to really stake our position in that, you know, we're a professional economic activity. It's really, really important that we sort of present ourselves in that way, and that our spaces are seen as the workplaces, the really important workplaces that they are.
Excellent. It's so inspiring, I think, for the art sector to see that clarity being given.
Yeah, it's important. It really, really is.
Would you like to give an overview of at least like the initial stages in the plan for the reopening?
Yeah, for sure, no problem. I mean, I'll give a very, very brief overview. All of the information is on our website, and there's a sort of a more detailed rationale there around why we've taken the approach. And like I've said, it's about being compliant and cautious and careful for our users, our staff and our users. So phase 3 is when we've indicated that we will start to reopen again. That's the point at which we felt that we could identify within the roadmap certain elements, for example, low levels of daily interaction for staff and sport behind closed doors. That's the other thing that really sort of we were able to sort of go, okay, well, there's an element of physical activity that we can sort of look to in that sense and apply to our workspace. But the confusing thing for dance is that we cross over between economic activity and cultural and social measures. So we've had to really take a broad view of the roadmap that's there. But we've been really clear about our approach, and that we'll open and start to prepare the space in phase 3 for the first couple of weeks. We need to assess, the building. We need to put in place the protocols that are required by law. We need to make sure that our staff are confident and feel secure and safe, working and opening up and welcoming people into the building. We'll set up the protocols. We've had to do things like increase our budget for cleaning. All of these things have to be considered, so the financial implications need to be thought about as well. And then we're going to test. So we've got a number of existing bookings. We're going to talk to people about whether or not they would like to come in at that point, on the understanding that it's not necessarily, it might turn out that we need to change things and that we need to stop things and that we need to turn things around. So the team are sort of talking to those who have existing bookings on that. We're not taking any new bookings at the moment, just so we can really take that measured approach going forward. So that's phase 3, and that at the moment, as we all know, you're talking about 29th of June, so end of June at that point, starting to open up. And then in phase 4, we are gradually reopening further. We're going to increase the activity that we accept into the building, professional activity, and to include some ensemble work because of the guidelines, the sort of gathering and the physical activity guidelines. They've kind of opened up at that point as well. So we're looking at initially restricting in terms of social distancing in the studios, which is another big thing we've had to think about. We're looking at a maximum of 6 people in our large studios, and those who have used our space will know how big those studios are. So that's how cautious we're trying to be in terms of actually using that space. And of course, then that limits the number of artists or organizations that can use the space, because if they want to bring more people in, that's not going to be possible under our protocol. So I realize that there are people who we can't actually accommodate during this, but we're really trying to be very, very careful. And then phase 5, the first couple of weeks, we're going to start to reopen a little bit further to increase or training, vocational training. We acknowledge, and my colleagues in Cork and Limerick have also said that there's a number of students who need to prepare to get their bodies back in shape, to get training before they go off to university or to other areas of study. And people are really wanting to get back and train. And so we're looking to open up from the ages of 12 plus, for a maximum of 12 people in the studio. So again, we're doubling the number of people in the studio, and that's the large studio. Obviously that sort of reduces with the medium and the small studio further. And then from week 4 onwards, we're potentially into September. That's when we start opening up to the public for public classes, and access for other activities and events, again with really being really mindful of social distancing and looking at maximum around 20 in the large studio. Now, our general manager, Eve Lawler, has done a lot of work in assessing the venue, looking at the potential in terms of measurements and social distancing, thinking about the various kinds of work that we have happening in the building. And so there's a lot of thought gone into those numbers and the fact that we are gradually increasing them and that they're different for the different studios as well. So that's the overview. That's the hope. And we hope that by September there'll be more activity happening, that we might be able to open for the classes. That's still in question. We don't know what the government guidelines might be at that point, but we appreciate it's slow and steady, and we'll get there in the end.
And obviously it's uncharted territory for us all, so just to see,
Yeah, like you said, I think we're the first arts organisation to publish a plan. We felt it was really important when we were ready to get it out there to really make the case for dance, as we've said. It is uncharted territory. We have to be ready to sort of roll back on what we're proposing as well, as sort of maybe even progressing it further. We don't know where it is going to be we don't know where we're going to be week to week, let alone in a couple of months. So it's all up in the air. But we're hoping that by keeping in contact with our community, our members, with our partners, with other people across the art sector, we can make this as good a ride as we can make it, really, just to yeah, do everything together for the benefit of the arts.
Well, thank you so much. Is there a way that the public can stay updated, or even to join Dance Ireland? And how would they,
Yeah, so if
membership
you want
and
to, yeah, we do. So, like I said earlier, we've got three different types of membership. So, if you're a professionally practicing artist, you can have professional membership. If you're an organization working in dance, there's an organizational membership. There's pre-professional membership for students as well. We've also got a friend scheme. So, if people want to sort of connect with us in a more deep and meaningful way, they can be a friend of Dance Ireland and support artists in many different ways. And then they get access to a lot of our resources and our information. But if anybody wants to stay up to date with what we're doing, we have our newsletters, we have our social media channels, and we have our website as well. So there's loads of, places that you can sort of click and join and keep up to date with us.
wonderful.
Oh,
Thank you
there's
so
one
much
more
for.
thing
Oh
actually I
yeah,
need to say. One more thing. What we've also done as part of our measures, sorry about this, one of what we've done as part of our measures in terms of the current crisis is we've extended our membership for 3 months for all of our members. And that applies to anybody who wants to become a new member as well up until the end of June. So if people do want to join, they will benefit from the extra 3 months as well up until the 30th of June. So I just thought that might be important if anybody does want to connect with us in that way.
definitely. That's a wonderful offering. Well, thank you so much, Sheila, for joining us, and we're looking forward to seeing how this all progresses. And thank you to Dance Ireland for joining us and being so clear
Yeah,
and giving us a pathway forward.
thank you very much. And if anybody does want to connect with us, talk about anything else, we're always open.
Fabulous. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye-bye.